This is why myself and 22 caliber hitters channels are being attacked. I can say now, I am 99% sure, by looking at this concrete floor in the video of Adam versus the Man's channel, that I can identify this as the garage at the house where Adam was supposedly arrested near the Bilderberg confab in the NRO complex in Herndon, Virginia. Now, I reported before, Ajax Loans misleadingly announced that he was arrested in Maryland, where his office was identified by October Rains as his FBI email address in the World Building in Silver Spring, Maryland. Why is this important? This is important because the house where he was arrested is registered to a Pakistani actor. In the last week, you can go to a website called 21st Century Wire. The lead reporter for The Wire did a report identifying that Bollywood, which consists of Pakistani and Palestinian actors, were caught on camera pretending to be wounded. How is this being funded? Well, we got a leak this year. 22 Calibers and I were digging around that there is special funding in the NDAA. The NDAA is I'm going to type it up here so I get it exactly right. It's been called the National Detention of Americans Act, but it's called the National Defense of Authorization Act. Within that bill, there is funding for $100 million of media or news broadcasts in the Middle East to generate empathy, sympathy, to drive a war, and we're seeing this in again, where Al-Qaeda is being funded to create war and chaos in countries like Syria and Iran, destabilize the region so the United States government can come in with the NRO and military industrial complex and fund wars for profit in more countries in the Middle East. Now, these countries, Syria, Iran, they border along Russia's borders. For the United States to provocateur military actions in the Middle East so close to Russia could be construed as an act of war. Now, if you've done research in the last month, you've seen that Operation Dawn Blitz is a joint exercises with the U.S. government and the Marines at Camp Pendleton. So, we have here the link to the house that I mentioned before, where Adam Cokestash was supposedly arrested. The concrete floor, which I believe is in fact the production studio set for Adam versus the Man. Where does the funding for this come in? Well, I mentioned before the house is owned by a Pakistani actor. Where did the money for the house come from? It had to be laundered in order to produce Adam versus the Man, where all these people, quote unquote, live. When you go to the site, and many of them, they have AdSense funding, which nobody else is able to get, to have money come in through YouTube channels to pay for the production of the show. But where did the extra $500,000 for the house and the production studio set, which is in the garage, come from? It was laundered through the Pakistani actor who owns the house. How do we find out all this information? Because every time you're involved with the federal government or a bank or a contract, there is a paper trail and money leading to where that goes. Now, I want to make a special comment because I have been getting stalking, harassment, and threats on the internet. I have some houses that are basically classified residences. Anybody who wants to make threats on me on the internet from behind a sock account, you must know that the house I'm living in is military veterans' housing paid for and loaned by the U.S. government after World War II, when my grandfather came home with the Presidential Soldier's Medal of Honor, which is hanging in the wall. If you know what's good for you, you will not come to my house and seek me.